Okay, let's dive into this. Welcome everyone to another edition of our Explainer series. I am absolutely thrilled to have you with us today because, well, we're going to unpack a topic that touches almost every single one of us. We are taking a really fascinating, structured look at a highly acclaimed TEDx talk by Dr. Cal Newport. In it, he systematically tears down the walls we've built up to justify our daily digital habits. Our whole focus today is to directly explain why the most common arguments for using social media might actually be entirely factually incorrect. Right out of the gate, I want to pose a question directly to you. Like, honestly, can you survive the 21st century without social media? For most of us, these platforms provide this pervasive, inescapable background hum of modern connectivity. We wake up to them, we commute with them, we literally fall asleep scrolling through them. The very idea of completely unplugging, it feels not just radical, but almost like professional and social suicide, right? But what if that feeling is based on a set of entirely culturally accepted myths? The guy challenging these myths is the ultimate anomaly. Dr. Cal Newport is a millennial, he's a computer scientist, and he's a highly successful author. And yet, he has never had a social media account, not even one. What's kind of hilarious is how this whole thing actually started. So, back when he was a sophomore in college, right after the first dot-com bust, he had this dorm room business that failed. And suddenly, some kid from Harvard named Mark launches a product called Facebook. In a fit of what Newport freely admits was just immature professional jealousy, he totally refused to sign up, basically saying he wasn't going to help this kid's business. He held out, and over the years, while everyone else got completely hooked, he gained this incredibly rare objective perspective on what these platforms actually do to our brains. To really understand his perspective, here's our roadmap for today. First, we'll look at the anomaly. Then, we're going to debunk three major myths: that it's a fundamental technology, a professional necessity, and just harmless fun. Finally, we'll explore the detox and beyond. All right, part one, the anomaly. Newport actually uses his own life's timeline as the primary evidence to debunk that massive fear of missing out we all have. From shutting down his post-dot-com dorm business to refusing Facebook in his sophomore year, straight through to the present day, he proves he hasn't just survived without an account, he's actively thriving. He still has plenty of friends, he still knows what's going on in the world. As a computer scientist, he regularly collaborates globally and is constantly exposed to serendipitous, interesting ideas. He rarely lacks entertainment. In fact, he argues he's significantly happier, finds way more sustainability in his daily routine, and is more successful professionally precisely because he completely avoids social media. Okay, part two. Myth number one, fundamental technology. So people often argue that rejecting social media is an act of extreme letism, right? Like it's practically the equivalent of riding a horse to work or insisting on using a rotary phone in the smartphone era. But Newport declares this myth as absolute nonsense. Social media is not a fundamental technology. It merely leverages fundamental technologies, like the internet, to deliver an entertainment product. As the technologist Jaron Lanier points out, these companies are simply offering you shiny treats in exchange for minutes of your attention and bytes of your personal data, which are then packaged up and sold to advertisers. Rejecting it shouldn't be seen as some massive political or social stance. It is literally just choosing not to consume one specific, rather unsavory entertainment product over others. And this brings us to a frankly terrifying concept: attention engineers. These are actual individuals hired by major tech companies who borrow principles directly from Las Vegas casino gambling. The desired use case of these products isn't some deep human connection or utility, it is addiction. They want you using the application in a compulsive fashion, because that is exactly how they maximize the profit they extract from your attention and your data. You are not using a fundamental utility. You are tearing a highly engineered digital slot machine right in your pocket. Moving on to part three. Myth number two, professional necessity. There's this deep-seated fear that without a perfectly curated brand, opportunities will just pass you by and you'll effectively disappear from the 21st century economy. Well, Newport calls this objection total nonsense as well. In a highly competitive economy, the marketplace has an exceptional valuation on things that are rare and valuable, activities that require real, deep work. We're talking about things like writing elegant algorithms, drafting case-winning legal briefs, writing 1,000 words of prose that absolutely fixates a reader, or applying complex statistics to a sea of ambiguous data to transform a business strategy. These require intense concentration, and they build real, undeniable skills. Conversely, social media use is incredibly easy to replicate and, let's be honest, produces very little actual market value. To put it pretty bluntly, he says cultivating a social media brand is, quote, something that any 6-year-old with a smartphone can do. This humorously but super sharply dismantles the idea that posting online is a rare professional skill. The market simply will not heavily reward a behavior that is that easy to replicate. If you can produce rare and valuable outcomes through deep, concentrated work, believe me, people will find you. You can write your own ticket and build a highly meaningful professional life, completely regardless of how many followers you happen to have.
Part 4. Myth number 3. Just harmless fun.
Now, a lot of people will concede that social media isn't a fundamental technology, and they might even agree it's not strictly vital for their career. But they'll fall back on the excuse that it's just a fun diversion. Twitter is funny, TikTok is entertaining, what's the harm? Well, Newport argues that this harmless defense is perhaps the most dangerous nonsense of all. The well-documented harms form a massive mountain of evidence. Professionally, that constant checking relentlessly fragments your attention. If you spend large portions of your day breaking your focus just to glance at a screen, research shows you can permanently reduce your capacity for concentration. You literally lose the ability to do the deep work the economy actually rewards. And, psychologically, it's just as grim. The more you use it, the more likely you are to feel lonely or isolated. Constant exposure to your friends' carefully curated positive portrayals leads to severe feelings of inadequacy, increased rates of depression, and it culminates in this pervasive, inescapable background hum of anxiety. And the real-world consequence acts as a terrifying canary in the coal mine. Mental health experts on college campuses right now are reporting a massive explosion of anxiety-related disorders directly tied to ubiquitous smartphone and social media use. Newport explains that there's a fundamental mismatch between our evolutionary brain wiring and the constant intermittent rewards these platforms dish out. Think about it. It's one thing to spend 2 hours at a Vegas slot machine. It's another thing entirely to bring the slot machine with you and pull the handle from the exact second you wake up until the moment you go to bed. It short-circuits the brain. To say it's harmless completely ignores these massive professional and psychological costs.
Finally, Part 5. The detox and beyond.
Acknowledging the facts is one thing, but actually initiating the process of quitting, that can be genuinely scary. The quitting journey requires a true detox process. The first 2 weeks are undeniably uncomfortable. Newport says it literally feels like you're missing a limb. But if you push through, you reach the reward. By treating your attention with respect and allowing it to stay whole, you regain the ability to work with intense, unbroken concentration. Newport himself is a professor at a research institution, he's written 5 books, and yet he rarely works past 5 p.m. on a weekday. He trades intensity for time, getting massive amounts of deep work done in an 8-hour day, simply because his focus isn't constantly fractured. And outside of work, life transforms completely. Instead of the modern reality, that constant hum of fragmented stimuli and background anxiety, you can achieve what Newport jokingly calls a 1930s farmer lifestyle. Imagine this, reading the newspaper as the sun comes up, listening to a baseball game on the radio, and just sitting in a leather chair to read a hardcover book after your kids go to sleep. I know, it might sound a bit old-fashioned, but it perfectly highlights how deeply restorative and peaceful life can actually be when you completely remove the anxious hum of social media from your downtime. So as we wrap up this explainer, I want to leave you with a really critical question to chew on. Is trading your rare, valuable attention for a few shiny treats actually worth it? We've systematically debunked the myths today, right? Social media isn't a fundamental necessity, it isn't what the market values professionally, and it absolutely is not harmless. Once you recognize it for what it truly is, a highly engineered slot machine sitting in your pocket, you have to ask yourself if the massive psychological and professional costs are worth those supposed benefits. Take some real time to calculate that trade-off in your own life. Thank you so much for joining me today. Until next time, stay focused and keep learning.